All right, everybody. Um, can you guys hear me? Hello, boop-a-doo. Okay, hey, sorry about that. Just my microphone wasn't working. But what's up, guys? Welcome to the stream. We are waiting on a guest, so we're not going to start the ranking quite yet. But, um, you know what? Let's do a little bit of a ranking because my guest, I'm pretty sure, hasn't seen all of the MCU shows yet. So why don't we just do a little MCU show ranking before he gets in here? So, um, without further ado, I guess let's just not waste time and get right into it. Um, uh, what's good from I Can See You, haha. Uh, Marvel Fan 28, I believe. Um, what's up, man? Thanks for joining. If I can find my MCU list. There we go. Okay, my microphone doesn't like to work when I look to see what my list is, but hopefully now we're good. So yeah, let's start with the TV shows. So, in dead last for me is She-Hulk. I don't think that's a um. I'm pretty sure it's a pretty common answer that it's the weakest of the shows. So yeah, it's not very good. Daredevil was probably the best part of the entire thing. And it's kind of sad because just relying on someone to bring like nostalgia or like that kind of sense of nostalgia for um it's like a different character to come into the MCU to make your show good. Not great. The only thing in the MCU that I've given 1 star on Letterboxd. So yeah, it's not good. I don't like this show at all. Um, not very much higher above that is Ms. Marvel, a show that I really liked at the beginning, and then episode 3 onwards, I just didn't enjoy it. I don't. A lot of people seem to really like episode 3. I just wasn't a big fan of it. And then 4 and 5 were awful episodes of TV. I like those are genuinely bad episodes. And season 6 was okay. Um, it just wasn't that great. But I did enjoy episode 1 and 2 quite a bit actually. Those are like if the entire show was just like that, those first 2 episodes and episode 6, I would like it a lot more. But it wasn't, unfortunately. So yeah, I definitely have to have it like down lower on the list. One that's seeming to be pretty controversial is Falcon and the Winter Soldier, though. General consensus seems to be pretty down the middle on it, but I've seen a lot of people give it negative reviews, and I've seen a lot of people give it like 5 star out of 5. Um, but yeah, not a super popular show nowadays, unfortunately. And I think when it was originally airing, I thought it was decent, but then like the more I thought about it, the more I disliked it. The ending was good for the actual story, like with Falcon and Winter Soldier. I really liked all that stuff, but the villain and the Sharon Carter stuff just really hasn't set well with me. Um, and especially especially the villain, because they really start to set her up to be like this sort of I don't know, second, like maybe upcoming hero or some sort, but like they're redeeming her and then they don't successfully redeem her and then kill her off. Not great. But it's whatever. And then Sharon Carter, she's Peggy Carter's daughter, and Sharon Carter is like pretty important character in the scheme of the MCU, and they're making her a villain in the future. Like, I don't particularly like that. 1 second. Sorry, I had to sneeze. So that's why I muted. But um, yeah, I don't really like this show that much. Especially over time, it just hasn't sat on me that the best. Jared Runner, what's up, man? He says hello there. Um, Marvel fan says I haven't seen Falcon and the Winter Soldier for some reason. I have a really hard time watching the MCU shows. For the longest time, I did as well. Um, but that was, I think, just because like a lot of these latest shows have been pretty stock standard. They've been like kind of the same thing over and over again. Specifically with Moon Knight and Miss Marvel, they kind of had like the same structure where it was like, you know, the first two episodes kind of set up something pretty cool, and then the next so the first two episodes do that, and then 3, 4, and 5 go and do like this whole other side mission. And Moon Knight, I thought the side mission was the best part of the show, and then they come back and then they do the finale, which just isn't the best. But that was kind of why I didn't really catch up with Moon Knight for the longest time, because I didn't hear that the finale was that good. But actually, you know what? Now I'm thinking about it. Okay, so we have one show to talk about right before Moon Knight, but we're about to get to Moon Knight. Charles Clayton, what's up? What's up, man? Jared says, at the moment, I'm behind the Marvel stuff. I don't blame you, because a lot of the stuff that they've been putting out lately is not great. So if you've seen up to Endgame, good for you. So, yeah, that's all I've got to say for you. But, yeah, it's not been a fantastic year for Marvel, but it's been a great year for DC. I have to give them that. Okay, so next thing up is not really a show, but just a series of shorts, and that's I Am Groot. I Am Groot was really cute, and I enjoyed the shorts. I sat down, just watched them back to back to back. It wasn't too daunting of task. They're like 5-minute shorts with credits. So yeah, they were simple, easy watches. I think my favorite of them was like Magnum Opus or whatever the one was called, with Rocket Raccoon and Drax, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, they were all decent. I didn't dislike really any of them besides Groot Takes a Bath, I think it was. The annoying bird or whatever that doesn't even end up like getting beaten up or anything by the end of it, which bugged the crap out of me, but whatever. These shorts were cute. I enjoyed them for what they were. Next up, though, like I said, Moon Knight. This was a disappointment for sure. I think this was probably either my most anticipated or second or third most anticipated project from Marvel this year. Uh, it was okay at best. I know if Luke Ponto was in here, my guest that's coming in here in a couple of minutes, he would be mad that I have it lower on the TV shows, because I'm pretty sure this is his favorite of all of them. But yeah, this one just didn't really sit with me that well. After I watched it, I thought it was like a 3.5 out of 5, and kind of lowered my score down to a 3 out of 5. So the first two episodes are cool, but I didn't really like them all that much. Episodes 3, 4, and 5 are really cool. I like that little side quest. And then the finale wasn't a really big fan of. It turns into a Power Ranger kaiju fight. it was it was weird. I don't know. Um, it was okay, but I thought episode 1 of Moon Knight was pretty good. Like I said, I think it was good, but a little bit slow. And same thing with episode 2. They're not the best things I've seen from Marvel, but they're decent. And then after Moon Knight, I gotta go with What If. I actually enjoyed watching What If a little bit more than uh, Moon Knight, which might make some people pretty mad. But What If, I really loved those first 5 episodes. That first 5 episode run was great. After that, episode 6 is actually my least favorite episode of the show. I think that okay, so the story itself was actually kind of interesting. But I don't know. Like, the character of Killmonger was a really great villain, and after this, I just kind of thought that I'm glad that that this wasn't canon, because if it's to the MCU, because if well, I mean, it is through the multiverse technically, but still, like, if this story happened in the MCU, Killmonger would be like bottom 5 villains of the entire MCU. But yeah, I didn't really like episode 6. Episode 7 is like the general consensus for the worst episode. And while I don't like it either, it's not the worst in my opinion, because it didn't ruin a character specifically. I thought what they did with Loki was actually kind of cool. Like, they made him a frost giant. But other than that, episode 7 wasn't great. Episode 8 was pretty cool. And then it leads to a 2-parter, and the finale, it was fine. It was okay, but whatever. Let me scroll through the list. Okay, so looks like we are in the top 3 of the shows now. Oh, we have got Luke. What's up, man?
All right. What's up? Just I got to get some things fixed up here really quick, so hold on just a minute.
All right, I was just going through the shows because I didn't. Oh, okay. Right. So continuing on with the shows. So number 3 is going to be WandaVision, which I thoroughly enjoyed. Episode 4 through 6 was the best chunk of that show, I'd say. Episode 1 through 3, you didn't really know what was going on, so it's like when you go back to watch it, maybe it's a lot better. Like, very good at building tension, I'd say. And then episode 4 through 6 was just great stuff. 7 through 9 wasn't the best, though. Especially episode 9, which just kind of had that generic MCU slam bang finale. But the first few episodes of any TV show are usually pretty slow. Yeah, honestly, I'd say like one of the only shows that aren't really are Breaking Bad, which kind of just like cuts to the action pretty quickly in that first episode. All right, Luke, are you ready then?
Yeah, sorry about that. Things were just not going in my favor.
Oh, okay.
So.
All right. I was just running through the TV show. I didn't think that we wanted to add them into the ranking, but if you want to thoughts on them as I go through them.
There's a couple of them I haven't seen yet, so I'm gonna have to just get through the ones I have already watched.
Right. So the ones I did talk about already were She-Hulk, Ms. Marvel, and then I Am Groot, Moon Knight, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. That's not the order that they were in. I don't even remember what order they were in. And then What If, uh, WandaVision, and I feel like there was one more, but I don't remember.
Loki.
I haven't talked about Loki or Hawkeye yet, but yeah, those are my top two. Actually, I really enjoyed Hawkeye. The finale wasn't the best though, and then Loki I thoroughly enjoyed. Uh, Episode 3 was the one that I had the most issues with, but other than that, like great show. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
All right. All right. Oh crap! I was gonna use my iPad as my resource, but it just went off on me.
Oh.
So yeah, it's gonna. So as I said, things are not going in my favor today.
Nah. Um. So, are we ready to start the ranking then?
Yeah, I just again, I need to get my iPad all fixed up here really quick,
All right.
and again, just got to get a few things fixed up here for getting down to it. So yes, I know I've been holding up the crowd here a little bit, but give me some time here, okay?
Yeah. No problem, man. No problem.
All right. So yeah, I need to go through the shows also before we get to the movies. Again, the ones I have seen already, not the ones
Right.
I
Yeah.
haven't seen,
And you.
because I haven't seen Hawkeye, Miss Marvel, or What If. I haven't seen those.
Okay. Okay.
So let's see. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I've seen 5. So I've seen 5 of them.
Okay.
So, of course, number 5, She-Hulk. At first, I liked it, but the more and more I thought about it, the more I talked about it, I was like, yeah, I hate this show. So it went down severely in my rating. So, and now you guys can stop cussing me out since I had that one over Black Panther for a little while. So stop cussing me out. um, Number 4, Falcon and Winter Soldier, which I loved at first, but again, more I thought about it, I liked it less because I hate the Flag Smashers.
Yes. The
The Flag
flag.
Smashers were garbage villains. I don't understand why they were there. So
Yeah.
remove all that, you would have a perfect show.
I thought that with the show, I already said this, but just to fill you in, I thought that the Falcon and Winter Soldier plot was actually very good. The stuff with John Walker was great.
Yeah,
Flag
like that stuff
Smashers
was
and
great, but it's just the Flag Smashers really brought it down for me.
yeah, but
Um,
like I was going to say though, the Flag Smashers and Sharon Carter were not great. I
yeah,
didn't really like
Sharon
that.
Carter was not. I did not like Sharon Carter. Anyways, we're not going to talk about that.
Yeah.
Number 3 is Loki. What I can't say anything else good about Loki. Loki is just awesome.
Yes.
I love that finale. Cannot wait for season 2. Bring it on.
Yes. Did you see those stills that they released recently?
Yeah, those were dope, and I'm
Yeah.
like, give me season 2 now.
Mobius in a tux looks awesome.
I mean, him in a suit looks awesome anyway. So,
Yeah.
anyways, number 2, WandaVision. Um, I love WandaVision. I mean, I loved it ever since I first saw it. I mean, I will eat my words on this. I mean, I still love the finale, but at first I thought that was like the greatest finale I've ever seen to a TV series. But
Whoa.
I guess that was just me being like, that's because I hadn't seen Breaking Bad at the time. So,
that's true.
but yeah, ever since I watched but Breaking Bad is still the greatest series finale ever to television. So, but anyways, and my number 1 is of course my boy Moon Knight. Um, at first it was close competition with WandaVision, but the more and more and more I thought about it, I was like, yeah, this is number 1. I love the show, like, because I love the character of Moon Knight, and I loved how different it was. It wasn't so just like formulaic in regards to the MCU formula. Like it was different. It was dark, and I loved Ethan Hawke as Arthur Harrow, the villain of the show. So
Yeah, he was definitely a great villain. Um I really like the show. Like apart from the finale, I think the first two episodes were really cool, but a little slow to get started. Episodes 3 through 5, I really enjoyed, and then 6 was, the slam bang Power Rangers kaiju fight. So
Even though I do wish they could have wrapped it up a little bit cleaner, but it didn't bother me when the more and more I thought about it. I was like, okay, that's the way they decided to end it, so that's fine.
yeah. All right. So are you ready to start the movie ranking then?
Yep.
All right.
So
All right. Since you are the guest, I'll allow you to go first. What is your last place? I don't even know how many like
Uh,
non
well,
show.
we're still going to count. Do you still want to count like Guardians and Werewolf by Night?
Yeah. How many would that be then? So it's what, 41 projects.
So
So
let's see, 10. So let's see, 10, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Jesus Christ. Hold on. 2021. We got quite a bit in here. But yeah, let's see. So, um, anyways, and my last place is, of course, Thor: The Dark World.
oh
Um, yeah. So yeah, that is by far the worst MCU film ever. I don't know why, but like, I feel like with every MCU movie, with some of them, at first I just like them, but some of them, the more and more I watch them, I'm just like, what is this? Like, that's
yeah,
what Thor: The Dark World. The Dark Elves were garbage villains. Um, the I thought the action was terrible. Um, the visuals were terrible. The acting I thought was terrible. Um, aside from Thor, Jane, and Loki, I thought those were the best parts of the movie. But other than that, everything else just like went down, like right in the water. So no
my
question why that's my least favorite.
my least favorite of the MCU, not my least favorite project, that would go to She-Hulk, but my least favorite movie. This is gonna make you mad. I'm sorry, but it is Eternals still. Um, Eternals is just a movie that angers me the more I think about it. The fact that they question if they want to save humanity in the movie just makes me so mad. Um, it's like, how are we supposed to be entertained by heroes, quote unquote heroes, that are questioning if they want to save their audience? Like, I don't know. That's always kind of rubbed me wrong. And then like, I don't know, like the movie is so long, but also feels way too short for what they're covering in the film. Like they're trying to introduce 10 brand new characters that we've never met, give us all of their backstories in 2.5 hours, and it's like 2.5 hours is a long time, but it's also way too short to cover all of that. Like, of all things that I would want to be a show, that would be it. Like if they could have done Eternals instead of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I think that would have been a cleaner slate. But regardless, it's what we got. So
Yeah, for sure. But that's definitely going to be higher on the list.
yeah, and I respect your opinion if you like it, but like, I don't know, it's not a movie that worked for me.
This wasn't for you.
Nope.
All right.
I don't know if it wasn't on like my wavelength or anything, but I don't know. Just didn't really work.
Yeah. So, but anyways, my next one is probably going to shock some people in the room here. It's going to be Iron Man 3.
Oh dang,
Mm-hmm.
dang man.
I know it's a hot take, but
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that I don't have it pretty low on the list, but like, I was surprised. I'm just surprised it's bottom two.
Well, that's the truth for me because again, I was just my generous side that was just playing. I was just going on this movie at first. I loved it at first, but then the more and more I thought about it, the more I watched it, I was like, this is just dumb. Because the fact that he literally gives the man like what we don't like, but is not the Mandarin his address, and then he just blows up his house. That's stupid. Like Tony Stark knows better than that. Like he knows he can't do that. He just does that, and it's just like, oh, you should have realized the consequences. Hello. Um,
Yeah,
I hate it. I mean, Guy Pearce, the performance of his was good, but I hated his villain. Like, because it's just again another Man of the Suit villain. We've
yeah.
seen that all before.
Another villain with scorn for Tony Stark.
Oh Jesus! I mean, and I liked that Gwyneth Paltrow got to do something a little bit in this movie instead of just being Tony Stark's just love interest. And I love Don Cheadle's War Machine, but just again, the film. I thought the jokes were terrible. I thought the writing was so off, and I hated the villain. And there were just certain moments that I was just like, they could have done so much better that they just executed it poorly. So
Yeah,
yeah, so sorry to anybody that loves Iron Man 3. I don't like it at all. I think it's terrible.
I can get that take, but I do have it a little bit higher, personally. But next for me is Thor: The Dark World. So we have that both pretty far down on the list, but um, I know a lot of people have this at the bottom, but for me, it's not like that for me because it just angers me quite a bit. But Thor: The Dark World, like you said, just is kind of boring. Um, it's it isn't that important of a movie in the MCU besides bringing in the red Infinity Stone. I don't remember what it's called, but um, yeah, it's not really important besides that. Um, the Dark Elves are very very bland villains. They have like zero characteristic, and yeah,
They have they don't even like have like a character introduction. They're just showing up and they're just like, "Hey, we're here to destroy you."
yeah, that's basically it. Like the villains are just as good as the movie, and the movie's boring. So, yeah,
Exactly. And like when you just have a villain just like that's what makes me angry. So,
yeah. All right, that's basically it for my thoughts on Thor.
so
It's been a couple of years since I've watched it, and I have
and
zero.
I'm not gonna lie, anytime I do an MCU marathon, that's the one I'm gonna skip.
Yeah, I mean,
I am never watching it again.
there's a few that I would skip personally, but we'll get to those in a second. Like
All
other
right.
than Thor: The Dark World, we'll get to those.
All right. Next one. This is of course gonna be at a lot of people's bottom, but it doesn't matter. Iron Man 2.
Okay,
Now
you'll see that a little bit, but
now look, at first I didn't care for it. Like that was like one of the only MCU films that I didn't care for when I was younger. But I rewatched it a couple of weeks ago with Tyler, Mind of Murder. Go check him out if you want to. Go to his Instagram or YouTube. Um, we watched that because he was doing an MCU marathon building up to Quantumania. Um, I liked it a little bit more. That does that mean it's a great movie? No, not even close. There were moments of this film that I thought really did not work. Like when Tony Stark was laying inside that donut, I was like, okay, this is weird. And then when he comes in with Nick Fury to the donut shop and he's like, I'm not interested in your little boy band. And I'm like, hold up a second. You were building up a team after the Incredible Hulk. But no. No, 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 no. Back up here for a
yeah,
second. Um and now the villain of Justin Hammer I didn't care for, but Sam Rockwell's performance, I mean, was just top notch. I mean, his performance was great. Just as a villain, it wasn't that great. He just wasn't a good villain. I loved Whiplash or Ivan Vanko, played by Mickey Rourke, who was a tough badass. He was awesome.
Yeah, Whiplash, I think, is actually really underrated.
But the biggest problem with this one, and I forgot to also mention this with Iron Man 3, it's way too convoluted. Because there's just moments where it's like you don't know where the story is heading because it's just like we go here, we go here, we go here, we go here. That's too convoluted.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So,
Charles says the ether, which is the reality stone. Okay, yeah, the
okay.
redstone. Next for me, this one's kind of a common pick. But next is Captain Marvel.
Okay.
It, I mean, it's not good. It's not bad though. It's no, I can't say it's not bad. It's not really bad. It's just a pretty movie. The
Pretty
villain,
standard.
yeah, pretty just yeah. It's forgettable, I'd say. Brie. Whoa.
I don't know what happened there.
I don't know. Hang on. Oh, it was just a selfie stick that fell off my desk. Okay.
Oh.
I can. So yeah. Brie Larson's okay as Captain Marvel. Um. So yeah, she's okay. The villain pretty bad. I don't. What is it? Artificial, not artificial, but like supreme intelligence or whatever. They're pretty bland and boring. Like bottom tier villains of the MCU, I'd say. And then the Kree soldiers, they're pretty decent. The one that's played by Jude Law, I'm pretty sure. He was pretty cool. And then Samuel L. Jackson and Goose the cat were pretty cool as well. But other than that, the movie's just very forgettable. And I've only ever watched it once and haven't wanted to go back to it.
Fair enough, but I have it a little bit higher. It's not too much higher, but it is a little bit higher.
Okay.
And it's not in this spot. Um, but I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for this pick because, truth be told, I'm not a big fan of it, like everybody else is. Black Panther.
I figured that was what you're gonna say.
Because, look, I understand the legacy of that film in regards to Chadwick Boseman. I get it. But I don't because but with films like that, I don't always like to look at that from like look at it from that perspective because I feel like if I just look at it from that perspective, I'm just gonna be like, oh my god, it's the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. I don't want to look at it like that because I thought the CGI was terrible, like some of the worst CGI I've seen in the MCU. Um, the film was slow, like that film was way too slow for me. And but I love Wakanda. I love the world building. The characters were awesome. I mean, but the jokes did not land for me whatsoever. And the film is way too derivative of other films, like The Lion King, and even that scene like up in the treehouse thing with his father. Like it's so similar to Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part Two. Like I don't. They could have done something a little bit more original with it. That's the reason why I'm not the biggest fan of it. But like it's just way too derivative.
Yeah, I can get that. Um, Next up for me might shock the crowd. I'm sorry, but I have to put Spider-Man Far From Home here. And
Ugh.
I know this used to be my least favorite movie in the MCU, and I've lightened up on it a lot, I'd say. But like, I don't know. This movie is pretty frustrating to me. Just the simple fact of the story being uh Tony Stark leaves these glasses to a high schooler that was just absent from Earth for 5 years, and gives these like glasses that can destroy an entire city and leaves it to a reckless teenager. That was stupid. Mysterio being yet another villain that has scorn for Tony Stark. That was stupid. Um, and the humor is absolutely terrible. Like after Homecoming, which I think is actually has really smart, witty humor. This movie was just like very disappointing in that department. You know, like the scene where Peter is like getting his spider monkey suit and or stealth monkey suit, whatever it's called, and the one lady like asks him to put it on or whatever, and he's undressing, and then the dude walks in, takes a picture, and then like that's not funny. It's very not funny. Like that makes me cringe, and every time that I've watched it since I like the second time I started watching it again, it's like after that part I'm just on my phone the rest of the movie. Like the rest of the movie's entertaining. It's an entertaining movie. It's fun, and Tom Holland and Zendaya are both good, but like I don't know, some of the plot points are just not great. Not great.
I can definitely see your points, but I have it higher. So,
Yeah.
um, anyways, my next one, we were just talking about this one a little bit ago. Well, in Captain Marvel.
All right.
So now, look, I mean, Brie Larson's a great actress, like no question. But her being cast in the MCU, I was a little bit skeptical about. But when it came to this film, I thought she was great when I first watched it. But again, major problems. Like the way they explain how Nick Fury lost his eye, I thought was stupid. Um, the villain was terrible. I didn't necessarily get into like the other characters. I mean, Captain Marvel was an okay hero, but it's just, I mean, her character was just not well utilized. She got better utilized in future installments, but we'll get to that. Um, but it's just her character I didn't really care for in this movie. But I mean, Brie Larson was good as the character. I love Jude Law. I love Sam Jackson. The action sequences were pretty good, and the visuals were not too bad. Just the film as a whole, kind of just struggled to stay consistent the whole way through because I felt like with the film's third act, it definitely started to pick up, but the first two acts was just stumbling. It struggled to find its footing. So
Yeah, I get you there. Like the first two acts, I think are a little bit, cool, but I I honestly kind of see that like a little bit like opposite from that. I like the first two acts because you get a lot of Samuel L. Jackson, like specifically just the second act alone, and then the third act just isn't that great. But you know, nonetheless, next up for me, I have Thor: Love and Thunder. This is gonna make you that's gonna make you a little mad. I know
I'm
that.
not mad. That's fine, dude, because I know a lot of people hate Thor: Love and Thunder anyway.
I don't hate it. I just think that the movie is very inconsistent. So, movie opens up with, Gore and his daughter dies, and he turns into a god killer because the gods didn't save his kid. Like that is great. Christian Bale is awesome in there. Um but after that you get to this goofy segment where Thor is doing Van Damme split kicks and like is with the Guardians of the Galaxy for a single scene. That scene was cool and I liked it. It was entertaining. The movie was entertaining, but it just wasn't great. And I don't really know like how else to describe it. It was entertaining, it was fun, just needed better consistency with tones, I guess, because you go from a kid being killed to screaming goats. Like, I don't know. That it could use a little touch up, but I don't know. I'm still entertained by it.
Fair enough. But sticking on the topic of Thor, my next up is the original Thor.
Okay. I think that's uh my next pick as well. So
Well, so that yeah, we can both talk about it.
yeah.
I love the character of Thor. Chris Hemsworth, that was the perfect casting choice to play as that. Love Anthony Hopkins, love Idris Elba, and I love Tom Hiddleston as Loki. Um, I feel like this film gets way too much hate. I don't really understand the hate towards this one. I think Kenneth Branagh did a really good job directing it. It's kind of like a Shakespearean tale in the MCU, which I really admired about it. Um, but I felt like the portrayal of Jane and Thor's relationship, I thought was a little effy. Like it was decent, but there were just things about it that I would have switched up. So
Um for me, I enjoy, the first act. The second act, it's okay. It's got some quotable parts like another, and of course that's iconic now. But and like the third act is also kind of forgettable. Like the ending fight is kind of lackluster, I'd say. Um, but yeah, other than that, I pretty much have like the same thoughts as you. It gets a little bit too much hate, I'd say, but it's not an amazing movie. Per-
well, yeah, it's not amazing by any means. It's good. It's just
yeah, it's good.
all right. Next up, I'm going with Ant Man and the Wasp.
You know what?
That's
Uh,
your pick too.
no, I have one more, and then Ant Man and the Wasp.
Wow.
Pretty
Um, that's a pretty awesome. But yeah, Ant Man and the Wasp
Charles
is
screaming goats were annoying. Yeah.
yeah. Um, but yeah, Ant Man and the Wasp was a good follow up to the first Ant Man. It definitely felt like a good, like, comforting breather, like after like what we got in Infinity War. I loved the addition of. I mean, she was in the first film, but I mean, I loved that she got to that Hope Van Dyke got to become Wasp in this one. That was a great addition to the story, and Evangeline Lilly is a great character for that. I love Michael Douglas, of course, as Hank Pym, and I love Paul Rudd as, of course, as Ant Man. The villain was kind of weak, though. I think that was the weakest part of the movie for me was the villain. So
Yeah. I kind of agree with you there. It's fun. Wasp is cool. I actually kind of like what they were doing with Ghosts, but like the whole movie just kind of seemed like this one big car chase, and it like didn't really stop to breathe or give like decent backstory to a lot of things. But
But
yeah,
but again, it felt like a little breather after Infinity War.
yeah, it's a little bit of like a comfort movie to me, but I don't know. It's not something that I go back to watch a ton. Um, a Marvel fan says I don't even remember what happened in Ant Man and the Wasp. I mean, it's a little bit forgettable, yeah. It's kind of generic, but at the same time, it's not really a memory. It's just like it's not bad by
Some
it's
There's
it
some great moments when Ant Man gets to go giant. Like
yeah, it's got some cool moments, but it's kind of forgettable overall.
yeah,
My
I mean, but I still enjoy it.
yeah, my next pick. I know this one is way higher for you, but my next pick is the Incredible Hulk. Um,
Yeah, I
definitely,
figured.
definitely like the black sheep of the MCU. I think it's got some really really cool action sequences, and Edward Norton is an awesome Hulk. Um, but the film also kind of seems pretty tonally inconsistent as well. Kind of like what I was saying about Thor: Love and Thunder. Um, but yeah, it's good. I like it. Like I said, Edward Norton's good in it. But yeah, and it's like the ending action sequence is really awesome as well. Um, it's just kind of sad that what they did with Abomination didn't get continued up with in She-Hulk.
But I will kind of give you this defense: the tones in the Incredible Hulk are done better than Thor: Love and Thunder.
Yeah, I,
So
I have it higher than Thor: Love and Thunder.
but my next one is going to be Black Widow.
Nice. I have this one a little bit higher, I think.
Now, at first, this was like I don't know why, but again, it's just because it being like the first MCU movie I see in theaters, and then like the one I get to see in theater, like the first one I saw in theater, so it kind of had a special place for me. At first, it was in my top 10, but again, more and more I thought about. I mean, watched it a second time, it was still the same thoughts, but again, the more and more I thought about it, I mean, the more I thought about it, and the last time I watched it, I was like, has flaws, but I still enjoy it. I
Yeah,
mean, it was a good send off for Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow, but I don't think this was like really the send off that we needed though, because if this came out like 5 or 6 years like ago, like the time it was supposed to, it probably would have been much better.
yeah.
Um,
Um,
but
that's
Florence Pugh as Yelena, the sister, steals the movie. She was hilarious.
and you can't
Eh,
forget who else was amazing in that
David
movie.
Harbour, yes, David Harbour as the Red Guardian. He was awesome. I love Rachel Weisz in the film. But for me, where the film really falls apart is Taskmaster.
Yeah, and Dreykov as well. The villains
Yeah,
just don't.
Dreykov and Taskmaster. That's where the film really falls apart. So,
Uh,
but other than that, I don't have too many complaints about it.
yeah. We can move on with this next one because this one is Ant-Man and the Wasp, and we already kind of shared our thoughts on it. So, yeah.
Anyways, yep. All right, let's move on. Next one is Avengers: Age of Ultron.
Ooh, I have a little bit higher as well. I think around the higher 20s, maybe. I don't remember, but we'll get to it.
Yeah, I think this is a very underrated Marvel film. I don't think a lot of people, like everybody, just looks at like Infinity War and Endgame, and I'm like, oh, we forgot that Age of Ultron even exists. It's a lot of fun. Like
Yeah,
it was a good way to continue on the story with the Avengers. I loved Ultron. Honestly, he's one of my favorite villains within the MCU. He's definitely comedic, but there's some villains that when you have them as comedic villains, they do work. Sometimes they don't. This is one of the times where I think it does work. I loved it. Ultron. James Spader was a great villain. Um, I didn't necessarily love the relationship between Hulk and Black Widow. I thought that relationship was a bit forced for me, and
yeah. I was
the film was a little bit too long for my taste. But
Oh,
it's a lot of fun.
yeah.
So
It is fun. My next is up next for me is Iron Man 3. I enjoy it for the most part. Like it's a fun, Shane Black action movie. As an Iron Man and an MCU movie, though, I don't think it really works that well. Like the villain, yeah, Aldrich Killian and the Mandarin aren't great. And I mean, the twist has kind of been, a little bit fixed by Shang-Chi, which we'll talk about way higher. Um,
oh
on
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but this one, it's a fun little action movie. It's nothing, outstanding by any means, but it's fun for what it's going for. The ending is so irrelevant, though. Like Iron Man blowing up all of his suits did nothing for the rest of the MCU because like you go from Iron Man 3 to Avengers: Age of Ultron, and you're like, well, that ending was for nothing. He's still Iron Man. So, yeah.
Oh boy, yeah. The ending was terrible, and I don't know, man. Like,
The fight itself was cool though, where they had all of the Iron Man suits come in. Like that was really cool, but just should have been done for like a better movie, like better villain, better everything. So I don't know.
yeah, but if people think that I should like Iron Man 3 more because of what they gave us in Shang-Chi, that doesn't mean anything to me. So
Like I
shut it.
because it just because like of the Mandarin twist, which everyone hated in Iron Man 3, just because that's fixed doesn't mean that the movie's perfect, but whatever.
And also that doesn't mean the movie's fixed. Doesn't
Yeah,
have the fact that it still sucks.
yeah.
And I'm sorry if I'm offending anybody with my Iron Man 3 slander, otherwise known as facts. So,
that, that is true.
anyways, next one is Spider-Man Homecoming.
Nice.
Love me some Spider-Man Homecoming. I didn't necessarily loved I didn't necessarily love the third act and how it came together. It kind of felt like they didn't really know exactly what they were wanting to do in the third act. It was just kind of like, oh, yeah, we'll just kind of have it like this and whatnot. And it kind of just bothered me a little bit. I was like, they could have done so much better with that.
Yeah,
Um, but I love Tom Holland as Spider Man and Peter. Like, I feel like Tom Holland, I think, is the perfect culmination of both characters in regards to Peter Parker and Spider Man. I think he's a perfect culmination of both. Um, I love Ned. Ned is a great character. Um, Zendaya as MJ, again, like she gets better as the series progresses. So
also I'd like to
uh,
say with this, I don't know if anyone's noticed, but they always have in all three John Watts Spider-Man movies, there's always a Death Star gag. And that's really the funniest part of every movie. Like in the first movie, Ned drops the Lego Death Star. In the second one, I think like uh I think Peter was like selling off like a Death Star or something. I don't remember, but in No Way Home, he's building a Death Star and it falls over when he gets something from the college. So
that's
uh,
funny. But yeah, and I forgot to mention this. I also got to point out Michael Keaton as Vulture.
he's awesome.
Awesome villain. I mean, that's kind of why I love the Home trilogy so much in Spider Man is because they actually well excluding. I mean, I still love No Way Home, but the first two experiment with new villains.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, gotta go. I gotta go with Homecoming. Love me some Homecoming.
My next pick is actually a lot higher than a lot of people would put it. Is Iron Man 2. Uh, so this one I have quite a bit of nostalgia with. I remember watching this with like my friend all the time when I would go over to his house. Like we just get pizza and then sit down and watch the the uh, the racetrack sequence, and that sequence was so awesome. And I still go back just to watch it. And just one action sequence doesn't fit the movie though. The movie's got plenty of issues. There's not a lot of action going on like in the first two acts. There's the racetrack fight, and then there's the fight party later on in the movie, and then there's like 45 minutes of the movie where there's absolutely no action. It's just all build up. The final fight though was really cool, and I think Whiplash is an extremely underrated villain. Um, and Justin Hammer, he's an okay villain. I'd say um, he's cool, and I think if they do more with him, like in the Ironheart show, maybe that's coming out soon, I think that would improve him. But yeah, I enjoy him. I enjoy the movie. I can go back. I still see issues, obviously, but yeah. And
But yeah, I mean,
the,
but I mean, like
the original War Machine,
Justin,
so
yeah,
cool.
yeah, Justin Hammer as a villain was not that great, but I love Sam Rockwell. Like
Yeah,
the casting choice of Sam Rockwell was just on point. So
for sure. Yeah, he's good.
next one I know you have higher, but I'm just gonna say it. Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special.
Okay, yeah.
Now, look, I didn't necessarily love the animation that they decided to bring in regards with stuff with Yondu. I thought it was just something that just was just added in there just to be like, oh, hey, this is what Yondu's been doing out there. And I was like, no. Like, I was scared that's what the rest of the special was going to be. But thankfully, after that, it picks up. And um, I love Mantis and Drax there. They're going to be such an iconic duo within
Yeah,
the MCU. Um, and I loved seeing Kevin Bacon in the MCU. I mean,
yeah, Kevin Bacon was great.
where was Kevin Bacon in this universe, like this entire time? Where was Kevin Bacon?
Existing. I mean, Kevin Bacon
It was
himself.
just existing, but I mean, come on, bro. You should have gotten him in the universe way earlier, dude.
I mean, I don't even know if anyone remembers it, but Sylvester Stallone got in, but Kevin Bacon didn't.
Now I kind of wish that Kevin Bacon did.
Yeah,
But, but yeah, I love the holiday special. It's an easy 45-minute watch.
yeah. I
So,
I used to have this one like way higher, but then I kind of brought it down just because like it's not amazing compared to some of the other movies on here, but yeah, it's good. I like it. Um, Next for me is Black Widow, and we kind of shared our thoughts already. Uh, Florence Pugh and David Harbour are great. The villains bog it down a lot. And like the third act isn't the best. Like the skydiving action sequence was meh, but other than that, I think the movie is fun. I this was I think the second movie I watched after theaters opened again. Um, so it was Quiet Place Part Two, and then this. So, yeah.
I'm
Um,
not gonna lie. I mean, I actually like the skydiving sequence. I thought that was actually pretty cool. It kind of felt like a Mission Impossible movie in some ways, the way that it was actually directed.
it kind of did, but I mean, of course, with Tom Cruise, there's not gonna be a lot of CGI, and there was a lot of CGI in this one. So,
The CGI didn't really bother me, if I'm being honest with you. It didn't bother me. So,
yeah, yeah,
but
yeah. But yeah, I
but
Widow quite a bit. It's fun.
but next up, I think is the one of the most underappreciated slash underrated of this entire universe. Captain America: The First Avenger.
That's my next pick as well. So
Wow. Okay.
yeah. Um. So yeah, this one's fun. It's good.
It's great, honestly. I mean, I love the character of Steve Rogers. I love the old school war aesthetic. I love the relationship he has with Peggy Carter. Um, Red Skull was a good villain, but I just didn't think like they executed him that well, in my opinion. I think they kind of just it was just like, okay, we're just gonna execute this villain. I was just like, that's really all we get.
Yeah. I think that the first hour might be like one of the best beginning hours of any MCU movie. And I think is like as soon as they montage over World War II, the movie kind of dips a little bit in quality, but it's still great. Still
Yeah,
very
and it's one of those films that stays consistent the whole way through. So
yeah, yeah. I mean that's a good part of it is that it stays consistent.
yeah, and you knew this was coming from my next pick. Going Spider-Man: Far From Home.
Okay.
Look, I don't care what anybody says. I love Spider-Man: Far From Home. Um, I do like it a little bit more than Homecoming because again they take it outside of New York. They go somewhere different, and they kind of and I love Mysterio as a villain. I think Jake Gyllenhaal was perfect casting for the character of Mysterio. Love Sam Jackson. Um, but for me, where this film falls apart is the film's second act. It just felt like there were just things thrown in there that just did not need to be in the film. It was just like, okay, throw this in, throw this in, throw this in, and I was just like, you don't need to throw that in.
Yeah.
So yeah, Sorry to all you haters, but I'm not one of them.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not an amazing movie. I've already shared my thoughts though. I wouldn't say I'm a hater. I enjoy a lot of the movie.
I wasn't calling you one though.
Yeah, I know. But like, just saying, like, for reference, I wouldn't call myself a hater. I don't hate the movie, but I recognize its flaws a lot more than most people do.
Fair enough.
My next is up next for me is Avengers: Age of Ultron.
Oh, okay, there we go.
Uh, it's fun. It's got flaws. It's long. They put a lot into the movie. Um, but I think I've probably rewatched this movie a lot more than most other films in the MCU, and I have no idea why. Um, I remember I originally watched this one in the theaters when it came out, and I've enjoyed it since then. You know, I think the Wanda, Quicksilver, or Pietro, and Vision, they're all cool. Vision one-liners in the movie are all great. Like the quote that he says, he's like, "Well, I was born yesterday," and then he blows up Ultron. That was great. Um,
That's funny.
yeah, I've quoted that way too many times though. Um, but yeah, it's a good movie. I think it's a little bit bloated. There's some things that aren't, amazing. I think they might have killed Pietro off a little bit too soon, but what we got of him was really cool. Um, and then they kind of bring him back in WandaVision, but then they have to make a pee joke, and that wasn't cool. No bueno. Mm-mm. Um, but yeah, that's kind of all I can really say about it. It's been a little bit since I've rewatched it, but I remember watching it quite a bit.
Yeah, that's definitely a good movie. Next one, I'm going with Ant Man.
Charles says I wouldn't mind seeing Jake Gyllenhaal back as Mysterio. Well, I mean,
Well, well, and obviously it would have to be in the multiverse, like
yeah, I mean,
because I
multi.
know there's a
Good.
because I know there's another version of Mysterio that would exist in the multiverse.
Yeah, but like, I don't know. That would kind of be kind of weird, especially because if they had specifically like the one got in Spider Far From Home, did he die or was it like not really concluded what happened?
I don't think it was really concluded what happened because I thought that with the missiles that were launched, I thought that would have killed Mysterio.
Yeah, but I don't know. Anyway, go ahead.
But yeah. So my next one is Ant Man. Um, I thought this film would be like the worst of the MCU for some odd reason because the trailers did nothing. But when you get into it, it's a lot of fun. I love Paul Rudd as the character of Scott Lang slash Ant Man. Him being a robber to working at Baskin Robbins to becoming a superhero was a really interesting arc. Um, I loved Michael Pena. I loved Bobby Cannavale and Michael Douglas and Evangeline Lilly. The characters are great. But for me, where the film kind of falls apart was Corey Stoll's man in the suit trope, which I was just like, okay, we've seen this done a million times before. But him becoming Yellow Jacket, I thought was awesome.
Yeah, I mean his villain isn't the most memorable, but he is kind of cool.
Just when he becomes Yellow Jacket, that's when his villain starts to get better.
Yeah. Okay, so my next pick is going to anger a lot of people for having it down this low, but I'm again one of those people that recognize the flaws a lot more than others. And my pick is Spider-Man No Way Home.
Oh no!
Okay, so this one I have an interesting story with, and it makes me sad that I have it this low because I know a lot of people are gonna give me some serious backlash for this because this used to be in my top two of the MCU. And over time, this one has slowly, slowly regressed, and a year has gone by now, and I've sat on it. I've watched it about 4 times now, and I recognize a lot of flaws. So, for the sake of saying that I need to share the problems that I have with it, specifically the first act, the beginning act is the main focus of the first act, where Peter is trying to get into college with Ned and MJ. That's cool. I like that a lot. Um, but the humor, again, I with Far From Home and No Way Home, I don't think the humor works. Um, and it's lacking compared to, you know, Homecoming. And then the second act, where it's like bringing in all of the villains, it's a little bit boring. But the third act saves the movie. Um, the third act is one of the greatest third acts I think of any film, and you've got to give the movie credit for that final battle with all three Spider-Man facing all of the other Spider-Man villains besides Venom. For some reason, they couldn't bring in Venom, but that's another side rant for another.
Topher Grace is not in it. What?
What?
Topher Grace is not in it. What?
Yeah, yeah. And Topher Grace isn't in it, but the thing with
But
Venom,
we get a post-credit scene with Tom Hardy.
yeah, that was crap. And I mean, what are they gonna? Okay, like the setup for where they leave symbiote in the MCU universe. That was kind of cool. It's setting up something. We know that, but like, come on. Like, there's more that you could have done with that from what you gave us in Venom Let There Be Carnage. So, like that post credit scene got us pretty hyped, I'd say, in Let There Be Carnage. But then, like, what they did in No Way Home was just very stupid, and I don't like that either. But
I feel
other
like we're the only few people that enjoyed Venom Let There Be Carnage.
yeah, one of the very few, or two of the very few. But yeah, other than those issues, I think No Way Home's pretty much perfect. It's like I mean, it's got a lot of issues, and I don't want to look past them and give it the perfect score that a lot of people do. And I think that's kind of unfair that people like people that I've talked to say, "Oh yeah, that's true," but I still give it 5 stars because Toby and Andrew is like, come on, really? But I don't know. I still like it a lot. It's good, but it's not perfect.
All right. Yeah, I'll definitely talk about that a little bit more since I have it a lot higher. So,
Yeah.
anyways, my next one is going to be Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Nice.
Um,
I have it higher as well.
I kind of figured, but I mean, I mean, pretty much all the Guardian stuff I pointed out, I love. I mean, I love the holiday special. I love Volume 2. But for me, my biggest problem with this film um, was that it felt a little bit too mean spirited. Like, it was just like, it didn't even feel like the characters really liked each other. It was just like, oh, yeah, because it's a sequel. We can go a lot more mean spirited. You don't always need to do that.
Right, yeah.
Because, I mean, it's just I mean, that's just me nitpicking. But other than that, I love Guardians too. I love the introduction of Baby Groot. Baby Groot was awesome. Yondu was great. I love Mantis. And Kurt Russell as Ego was great. I love Kurt Russell. So
Yeah, quite a bit. Like I said though, it's a lot higher on my list. So, um, next up for me is Spider-Man: Homecoming, and
there we go.
yeah, this is my favorite of the Spider-Man. Because I think actually balances the humor well with the story, the coming of age story, um, the best, and it has the best villain of any of the. Actually, no. Okay, do I say that Green Goblin's the best, or like any like the previous Spider-Man villains? Because this is also kind of their universes, but I don't know. Nonetheless, of the two villains that we've gotten from Tom Holland's Spider-Man, Vulture
New
is
villains.
yeah, the two of the villains, yeah. Um the villains that we've gotten from them, Vulture's superior to me. Um the I don't know. His character is so simple. It's not I'm trying to take over the universe. I'm not trying to destroy the world. He's trying to help his family. And that's compelling, not like Ultron where he's like, you know, I have scorn for Tony Stark because he created me and I don't like him anymore. I'm going to blow up Sokovia. Like but this one is actually compelling where he's just trying to help his family and you know maybe the story is just kind of like an Iron Man Jr. kind of thing. Maybe the third act is a little bit generic and has a pretty meh third act. Like the final battle, pretty forgettable.
Yeah, the final battle was forgettable.
But I enjoy it. I enjoyed this movie, and I did see this in theaters. This is the only no, I did see No Way Home in the theaters, so I didn't see Far From Home in the theaters, and that's the only one of the three that I haven't seen in the theaters. But this one was a good experience, and it's sat on me the best out of all three. So
Fair enough. But next one, you kind of knew this was coming. Thor: Love and Thunder.
yeah,
Look, I will say that there are some people that I know that say this is better than Ragnarok, and I totally understand that. That's totally fine. But because I think the bigger strength that this film does over Ragnarok is that it balances the comedy and the emotional beats pretty well. I mean, yes, I know it can be inconsistent, but they do balance it pretty well. Um, the screaming ghosts were annoying as all crap. I don't even know why they were there. Um, but I loved Korg. I love the relationship with Jane and Thor. I think it was handled much better this time. Um, I love Valkyrie. Christian Bale as Gore the God Butcher is honestly one of my favorite villains in the MCU. I love his character. He's so dark, like and the design of Gore was chef's kiss, dude. His design
yeah,
was amazing.
he was great, and Christian Bale was awesome as Gore.
So yeah, so I'm sorry, guys. This movie's good.
Next up for me is Ant-Man, and this one I used to give a perfect rating to, and I don't really know why. But yeah, it's one of the funniest films in the MCU. And
It is hilarious.
I think honestly the movie works better than Ant-Man and the Wasp because the original draft of the movie was made by Edgar Wright. And, like it was originally supposed to be directed by Edgar Wright. I don't know if people knew this or not, but yeah, it was supposed to be made by Edgar Wright and handed off to Peyton Reed to like finish the movie. I think the script worked a little bit better because I'm pretty sure it was made by Edgar Wright. Um, and I love Edgar Wright. He's like probably my favorite director working today. Like with their more recent films like Steven Spielberg, he's probably the best director that's still working today because of his movies back in the day. His movies these days just don't really compare to those other movies, besides The Fablemans, from what I hear. But um,
I would say besides West Side Story, to be honest with you.
yeah, and West Side Story, yeah, West Side Story and The Fablemans. Besides those, they're probably like is his
Like
movie.
his two best modern films.
Yeah,
Like
like for modern day films, Edgar Wright probably is my favorite director working today because
Could you imagine like what they would do, like what would have happened if they actually pulled the trigger with Edgar Wright?
that would have been an awesome movie, and I still could have. I
And
wish that Edgar Wright could have worked with Disney, but
and this and it could have probably been the best MCU movie since because Edgar Wright would have directed it.
yeah,
Like
it could have been. Yeah. And I just wish that there wasn't creative differences with with Marvel and Edgar Wright though, because we still would have gotten some sort of Edgar Wright movie in the MCU. But I don't know. I still
and
love it, and I
and I
still
think
really
it would have been better paced, if I'm being honest with you. It would have been way faster. Like
um Darren Cross, the villain. He's a little bit forgettable, but he's a cool villain, and the Thomas the Tank Engine action sequence is phenomenal. Obviously,
it's hilarious.
yes, because my childhood hero was featured in a Marvel film and gets
Oh
blown.
boy, oh boy, I can't imagine if you were like 8 years old watching that and be like, "Oh my God, mommy, Thomas the Tank Engine's here!" Like,
And then he gets blown up, and it's like,
you'd be like if you were like 5 years old, you'd be crying.
ah, ma.
Mommy, take me home.
That would be amazing.
But anyways, my next one, I'm gonna go with Werewolf by Night.
Solid pick. It's a little bit higher for me, but I do really like it.
I literally just like watched this for the first time like a few weeks ago, like almost even a month ago. Yeah, I watched it for the first time because I was kind of skeptical about watching it because I was like, well, I love Michael Giacchino as a composer, but I don't know how he would translate well as a director. And everybody would not shut up about it. And I was like, okay, screw you guys, I'll watch it because it was around the same day that I binged Wednesday and I watched the Guardians Holiday Special. And I was like, okay, I don't have anything else I want to watch, so I'll watch Werewolf by Night. And I was blown away from how good this was. It's completely in black and white, which I loved. Something black and white in the MCU for once. Thank you. Um, and it actually feels like a scary movie when you watch it. And Michael Giacchino was excellent with his direction. He was excellent. I
Yeah,
mean, I love him as a composer, especially with that Batman theme that he did earlier this year, which was incredible.
yeah,
Um, yeah. If he's gonna always just be a composer, give him some directing projects here, please.
yeah. Marvel fan says he has to go. So yeah, see ya.
See ya. So yeah, I love Werewolf by Night. It's pretty awesome.
All right, we gotta speed this one up a little bit, but I gotta go in a couple minutes. But um, my next pick is the original Doctor Strange, which I know is a little bit higher for you, but I thoroughly enjoy this movie. Scott Derrickson's a
I beg
great.
your pardon. I beg your pardon. It's a little bit higher. It's way higher.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, Scott Derrickson's a great director for the movie. Um, he's uh, great horror director, and visually, this movie might be like the best of the MCU. The villain, he's a little bit forgettable, but it's got some cool moments. The Dormammu,
I
uh,
come to bargain.
bargain, yeah. That's such a memorable part of the movie. Um,
But here's the thing, though. How can a villain be forgettable if he's played by Mads Mikkelsen?
that's true. Matt Mickelson is good, but the writing for the villain, I don't think is the
Well,
best.
it's written by both Scott Derrickson and C. Robert Cargill. So
Yeah,
hold on. Oh, John Spahitz. I have no idea how to pronounce that, but him and Scott Derrickson and C. Robert Cargill wrote the movie.
yeah,
So if it was just C. Robert Cargill and Scott Derrickson writing it, it would have been a lot better. Like in
yeah,
regards to the writing department.
Yeah.
Next one I'm going. And speaking of Doctor Strange, we're going Multiverse of Madness,
Nice. Yeah,
which
that's
is
well actually. So
which. Wait, what'd you say?
that's my next pick as well. Is
Oh
multiverse.
wow. Yeah. Sorry to all the haters of this movie. This movie is freaking awesome. Um,
Right.
it I mean, and this being the first film in the MCU to actually be a scary movie, that is genius in my mind. And Sam Raimi coming in, like the first act, it definitely feels like very templative. It could be handed off to anyone. But once once Wanda comes in as the villain, this movie takes a huge turn. Like
Yeah, she's a great villain.
and and she's probably I'm not gonna lie, it's a close contender, but she might be my favorite villain within the MCU. Because she gives such a real performance. I mean, you don't even like want to root for her, but you understand her. And Elizabeth Olsen, good job. I give you mad props. And I loved the cameos, and I love the with the multiverse and everything. That was great. I think America Chavez was a good addition to the MCU. I don't care what nobody says. Again, this the first act felt very templative. That's my only like nitpick with the film. The movie's awesome. So, someone still there? Ding, ding, ding. Oh, I know exactly what he was doing. So yeah, but he'll be back in just a second, folks. So yeah, this will just take a little bit, folks. Just gonna take a chill here. So yeah, we're just gonna be quiet here for a little bit and just chill till he comes back. Um, yeah, I don't know what's going on. He comes back in just a minute. Oh.
All right, I'm back.
Jeez, took you long enough.
Yeah, I know. It was not expected. I had to go grab something, but yeah, I have to wrap this up in a couple of minutes.
All right.
So I'm gonna do speed round.
There you gotta do speed round.
All right, yeah. So Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness is my next pick. So along with a Luke there, um, Doctor
So,
Strange.
all right. Next one, I'm going with the first Iron Man movie that started it all. And
Nice.
if this movie was terrible, would we ever get the MCU, like the greater MCU films that we've ever gotten?
Nope,
No.
not at all.
This franchise just would have been dead.
Yeah. My next pick is actually, my next two picks are just the Disney Plus specials. I pretty much have the same thoughts on them. They get you into the mood for the holidays, so yeah, they're fun.
All right. So yeah, then I'll just go for two then. So um because you did two,
Yeah,
so now I can do two. Um The Avengers and Captain America Civil War. I love both of these movies. I mean, Civil War I have a little bit higher because I mean I love the story. The story is a little bit more thrilling, and it actually makes a little bit more sense. Because I'm sorry for anybody that thinks that Avengers should be in the top 10 for me. It's more about the spectacle in that one. It doesn't really have much of a story.
yeah,
So
yeah. I can see that. Um, Next for me, I have Civil War actually, so kind of the same thoughts there. Um, yeah, pretty much the same thoughts. It's good. I like it a lot. It's got a cool story, but the beginning's a little slow, I'd say. And
yeah,
I've seen the beginning way too many times. Like I could probably quote the entire first 15 minutes of the movie.
I got a package for Tony Stank.
Yeah.
That's funny. And my next one, you guys have been waiting for this one, The Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
It's my it's my boy Hulk. I think Edward Norton's a better incarnation of the Hulk than Mark Ruffalo probably ever will be because ever since Endgame, they've been treating him like a joke.
Yeah, that is true. Um, Next up, I have Shang Chi.
And guess
This
what?
is just what
That's my next one too.
nice. So yeah, Shang Chi. This one just is a lot of like martial arts fun. Um, it's got a cool story, great villain. I think the third act is a little bit too CGI heavy, and like some of the action sequences are a little bit bogged down by the humor and CGI. But other than that, I think the movie is just really cool.
And actually, and plus the thing is about Shang Chi, you can actually see what's going on. Like it's not so
Yeah,
choppily edited.
like the third act in Black Panther.
Yeah, and the CGI is better in this one. The CGI is
Yeah,
better.
for sure, for sure. So then I'll go with my next one. It's Black Panther. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
whatever.
Uh, okay, listen. I actually kind of enjoy the first two acts a little bit more than Shang Chi. The third act I can get. It's not the best, and the CGI is awful in there. But I still just really enjoy the movie. Um, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, my next pick is Endgame.
Nice.
I love Endgame, but it's just I didn't like the. I mean, I still love everything else about it, but it's just again, I did not like the way they handled Hulk. It was just like you really had to go this route. Hulk is a mean, tall green guy that should be beating the crap out of people, beating the crap out of things. not this professor guy that takes selfies with little kids.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Because
My
like,
next
have
pick
you guys not read Hulk comics? That's not what the Hulk is.
no, not at all. Not at all. My next pick is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. This one, I can see why people don't love it because of its mean spirited humor. I just get a bigger laugh out of it. Like, like some of the stupid humor, like the taser face thing, I die laughing.
Oh, they
And
call you
then,
Taser Face?
yeah, and this I think even like brings up even more emotion than the first movie. Um, like,
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yondu.
yeah, Yandu made me cry in the theaters, and that was like one of the very few times I've cried in the theater.
And if you want to break the mold here, my next one is actually the first Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh well,
I love the first Guardians of the Galaxy. It wasn't like it's not the film that really made me a bigger MCU fan than it did, but it's one of them. So
yeah. You'll see where that's at soon.
I know
Uh,
it's higher already. So
yeah, yeah. Um, Next for me is Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. It's a great movie. Very emotional. It's long. And it kind of it bogs down the movie a little bit, but like not too much because it's just a really good story, very well told. It's got great character moments, with Shuri becoming the next Black Panther. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, but yeah, it's
that I
very
thought
good.
was that I thought was amazing.
The third act as well though is great, and the action sequence, like the car chase sequence, that was so good. I love that sequence.
And plus, not terrible CGI. So,
True that.
but my next pick is probably going to break some people's hearts. I'm going to go with Infinity War. Look, at least
Um,
it's look, at least it's in the top 10. So
yeah,
don't
I
be
mean,
mad about that.
yeah, I'm not mad about that, but I was just seeing if that was where I had it on the list. But no, I have
Like
it.
if people are just going to be so mad and be like, "Oh, this should be your top 3." No, I'm
No,
sorry. I mean, I love Infinity War, but again, I mean, flawless movie. Like I don't think there's like any issues with Infinity War. But the biggest thing for me is that I didn't find it to be like as like tear jerking of an ending because I already knew like where the story was heading.
yeah.
So
See, the thing that I used to not like about the movie though is that they were marketing Spider-Man not No Way Home, Far From Home at the same time, like right after Infinity War was released. So that made me so mad that they were spoiling the next part. So
they shouldn't have because that was a dumb move.
yeah, it was a very
But
bad.
but the thing I love most about Infinity War is that it's a character study.
Yeah,
It's not just focusing on the Avengers; it's a character study of Thanos, who is the greatest MCU villain still.
yeah, he's definitely up there. Um, I think in competition for first, I couldn't really tell you who the best is because it's like a big tie between a bunch of people for me.
Like
Um,
my biggest like two ties are Thanos and Wanda.
yeah, Wanda's definitely up there.
Oh,
She's great.
and I forgot to mention Killmonger.
Yeah, Killmonger is definitely
I
also
love.
there.
I mean, he's like my biggest strength of Black Panther of the first Black Panther is Killmonger.
Yeah, for sure. My next pick going into the top seven already. Um,
Yep.
so Avengers Endgame. Um, so this one, like, okay, I've noticed the issues over time, and that's why I have it a little bit lower than the top three or whatever, like most people have it. But this one used to be my number one for the longest time just because of its emotional impact. Um, and it's a pop culture phenomenon, obviously. Second highest grossing film of all time, um,
Beside Avatar,
besides Avatar, yeah. So I actually prefer Avatar. Hot take. But um, I know that it's
Avatar's
kind
mid.
of a hot
What?
take. Your
I'm
side
sorry, Avatar is mid.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I like it a lot. Anyway, the movie does have issues. Like the first and second act are kind of slow. The humor is, a little meh, but like the final battle is just one of
Like
the
the final
best.
45 minutes of the movie are just amazing.
Yes, some of the best things that Disney has ever put out.
Yes, for sure.
So,
And you guys were waiting for this one on my list.
number 6.
Eternals. I'm
I can't believe
sorry.
we didn't talk about this one yet.
I'm sorry. I love Eternals. Like the fact that it's kind of a character study on superheroes and what it means to be human to the characters, I thought was great. The visuals and the cinematography is beautiful. Some of the best cinematography of the entire Marvel universe. I love the characters. And yeah, the post credit scenes I thought were great also. Um, I don't know. I don't know. I don't really have any issues with Eternals, so sue me.
My number 6 is the Winter Soldier. Um,
That's my next one.
Nice. So, yeah, similar picks. This one, it's really great. It's like a really great, crime thriller. Very few kind of crime thrillers have been really seen in the MCU, and this one definitely is great. I just think that the third act is a little bit generic for MCU. Um, it's got some great moments, with Falcon coming into the mix, great, but it's kind of generic. Like they have to take down the helicarriers and stuff. But other than that, great movie.
Yeah, I love the Winter Soldier. And I love the fact that it's more of a spy and espionage type of thriller, and not just a standard typical MCU movie.
Yeah,
That's probably why I kind of hold the Winter Soldier in a much more higher regard. I mean, obviously, it's one of the most loved MCU films because obviously it's something different, which is something that everybody can appreciate now because it is like bring it back to the formula. Come on, we
yeah,
need something different every once in a while, and this is the one of the best examples of different.
yes. Um, Number 5 for me is Infinity War. Okay, so it's got an emotional impact for sure. It didn't leave me as emotional because, like, obviously, like I said,
We
um,
knew where the story was going, so
yeah, because they were marketing stuff before they should have. So whatever. Anyway, the movie is very emotional. It's got some great scenes, um, great continuations for characters. Just very very good movie, and it's a character study of Thanos, and it's just very good. I don't love it like most people do, like have it at number one. Um, but at the same time, I don't really think that any of these movies are particularly perfect. They all have kind of their own flaws and like things that kind of knock them back a little bit. But this one is definitely one of the least flawed, I'd say. It just came
for
down to the
sure.
marketing that just kind of killed it.
Yeah, but my next one is Wakanda Forever.
Nice.
Now, everybody complains about the pacing, and I disagree. I think this film flew by for me. Like both times I saw this film in theaters. Um, I love Shuri and the fact she becomes Black Panther again. Spoiler alert. Um, I love Namor as the villain. He's one of my new favorite villains.
Yeah, he's great.
Um, I loved Queen Ramonda. She was great. The characters were great. The CGI was handled much better, and I love the final battle. The final battle to this was incredible.
Yeah, I think the one thing I can say is that like they're setting up something for sure, like with Namor, but I think they kind of should have killed Namor. Hot take, but
I'm kind of glad they didn't though.
He's cool, yeah, like for sure. He's definitely cool, but I think they should have killed him off just to like show how strong Shuri is as a leader of Wakanda. But like then again, like they could be setting up something really cool with Namor in the future.
And if it's as cool as they are thinking it is, then I'm down for it.
Yeah. Then I'm just gonna be sitting back here like if it's not cool, I was like, yep, I was the first one who said they should have killed him off, but no one listened, so here we got some crap.
You go. So back in my day, they should have just killed off Namor.
Yeah. You see, we wouldn't have gotten all of this multiverse crap if they would have killed off Namor.
If they just killed off Namor, then we would have had something stronger in our lives. You'd just be
Smoking
talking to
like,
your grandkids, just smoking a cigar like that.
back in my day, I had to walk 15 miles in the snow just to get to the nearest bus stop.
Back in my day, I had to walk 20 miles to get to my nearest movie theater.
And pay $15 per ticket.
All right, we got to move on.
Yeah, my number four is The Avengers. Classic team up movie. I've always enjoyed it. Got a lot of nostalgia for it. It's quippy. It's iconic. Very fun.
It's great. Everybody was waiting on this one also. Doctor Strange.
Yeah, it's
And
great.
again, it
Great
might be
movie.
kind of my bias towards Scott Derrickson also because I mean he's one of the most talented minds working right now. Um, I love Benedict Cumberbatch as the character. And this was the film right here. That's the reason why it's so high. This was the film right here that made me a bigger MCU fan than I was already. So that might be kind of why I have this film so high, and because it really opened up my eyes to what the MCU had to offer. So, and I love the character of Stephen Strange.
Yeah, it's definitely a good movie. I like it a lot. Um, three for me is I should have memorized this by now, but it's the original Iron Man. It's the one that started it all. It's a classic origin story, and I've got a lot of nostalgia for it. So,
Um, my next one is Spider-Man: No Way Home. Yeah, because it it brought back so many great memories of me watching the first Spider-Man film as a kid, even the second one. Like, and even though I wasn't a big fan of Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man before, this movie gave me hope for his Spider-Man that they would actually give us justice for him, and I mean, they did in this one, but in regards to the future,
yeah,
um,
I hope they kind of continue both Tobey Maguire and Andrew's Spider Man.
yeah, and I love that they brought back the villains, and I don't care if anybody says they should have taken out Doctor Strange, they shouldn't have. They couldn't have because otherwise, how would we gotten those villains back?
Yeah.
Because he's the only one that can open up to the multiverse. Like as far as I know, he's Sorcerer Supreme.
Well, he was, but then he got blipped.
I know, but again, he's the only one that can open up to the multiverse.
Yeah, that is true. My number two is Thor Ragnarok, which is your number one.
Damn it!
So by process of elimination, you probably know what my number one is. It's Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, but Thor Ragnarok, like that's one of those films that knows that like what exactly what it is. It's not trying to be anything else besides just plain old fun. Like
yeah, it's
like
awesome. The one thing that keeps it from number one is how they handled the Warriors 3, which is just a little bit, iffy. But you
it's just
know,
one of those films that you just have to sit back and relax and watch. Because if you think about it
yeah,
like logically, it's stupid. Like
yeah, it's definitely not like supposed to be smart. It's like I mean, okay, it's got smart humor, but it's like
the
not supposed
humor
to be
is great. I
smart.
like the humor of this is the best out of any Marvel film.
Yeah, for
Like
sure.
and again, it's simple. It's we don't get Marvel like this is one of those Marvel films that goes back to the glory days, being simple.
Yeah.
and that's
Um,
so convoluted.
but yeah, like I said, the one thing I don't really like is the Warriors 3 thing, which is kind of disrespectful. But yeah, uh, not saying it's bad, but it's not the best, I'd say. But yeah, my number one, Guardians of the Galaxy. Whew, just just a great movie. I've rewatched this one a bunch of times. James Gunn's humor is great. He's able to bring this family of, you know,
Of
not
like of
great
dorky
people,
superheroes.
dorky superheroes, C-list Marvel characters, and make them A-list and make them just icons of the 21st century. And yeah, it's thoroughly enjoyable, and I love Guardians of the Galaxy. It's one of the very few MCU movies that I would call perfect.
Yeah, but no doubt about this one right here. This is
Yeah, for
like,
sure, top two.
yeah, of course. This probably for the longest time, unless, which I don't think there's any going to be any Marvel film that will top this. For me personally, I don't think there's going to be any Marvel film that will top this. Because again, it goes back to the glory days of being simple. It's just a fun ride where you get to see Thor. It's like a fun gladiator type of movie. Is basically what
Yeah,
it is.
it's cool. It's cool.
It's awesome.
But yeah, that is the ranking, everybody. Whew.
A good one
Um,
though.
yeah, it's been a good one. So yeah, thank you guys for watching and sticking around. If you guys watch the replay, thank you for watching as well. You guys are awesome, and please go subscribe to Luke and follow him on Instagram and Letterboxd, wherever else you can find him. So yeah, thank you guys for watching, and see you guys later.